feel like I have to get into the vocal fry. Okay, I was gonna try to do a Philip Seymour Hoffman impression, but I don't think I can do it. I also think if I, like, when I die and I have to, like, repent for my sins, they're gonna be like, that one time you tried to do the Philip Seymour Hoffman impression.
No.
The only. Now, see, that kind of sounds like Obama.
Yeah. It's a better Obama that you've got.
Michelle. It's, so, like, you know the triangle of impressions that is Jennifer Coolidge, Owen Wilson, and Heath Ledger as the Joker? That you can just, your touch point for all three of those can be like, wow. And you can just, like, really alter it a little bit to make it either of those three. I feel now that I've unlocked the same, a PSH and an Obama. Maybe. What's another, like, vocal fry-y person? Know. We can add a third one in there.
We'll have to sit on it.
Every woman podcaster ever.
Yeah.
Or, like Ira Glass from NPR.
Oh my god.
So that was a failed attempt at a quote opening, but we're talking about the movie Almost Famous today, where Philip Seymour Hoffman has, like, all of 6 minutes of screen time. Yeah. So I don't know why I chose him to be my, like, touch point. But this is The Swamp. It's our podcast. It's an acronym.
It stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting. And we got this recommendation from a couple people. Brooke drew to one of my favorite listeners that we have.
Shouts out Brooke. Yeah. Longtime listener, has recommended many and offered to do the chocolate or vanilla theme for this week. And so really sweetened the deal. So if you want to really butter us up, offer to do more work for us, and I'll probably say yes.
Yeah.
So that'll be coming later. But also, you can, if you're listening on Spotify, there's a little Q&A section at the bottom and you can just tap it, and it'll say what movie, and you can just type that in. So when I was looking at the movies that people from Spotify have requested, _MadMacB_ also said, would love to hear your opinions on Almost Famous. So we got a couple of people who recommended that this week, and that's our theme for the month, is we're doing all listener requested, suggested movies. We were just really lazy, and we're like, wow, we have this great Google Doc of like 900 movies that you guys have written in. But we wanted to kick it off with this because Brooke offered to do chocolate or vanilla for us. So shouts out. I don't want to, like, start the month off by being like, oh, listener suggested movies. Now I'm gonna shit all over your favorite movies. Yeah. Like, hopefully you don't revere my opinion as anything, because it's really not. But the quote I was gonna try to say is when he's like, the only currency in this bankrupt world is what you share with someone else when you're uncool. Then I'm a fucking billionaire, because I'm chronically uncool and I overshare everything. So
and you have a podcast.
Almost Famous from the year 2000. If I'm being honest, I knew nothing about this movie.
Didn't know a thing.
The poster is pretty iconic.
Yeah.
With Kate Hudson and the glasses. But if you swapped out the words Almost Famous with Dazed and Confused, and you told me that was this movie, I'd be like, yeah, I believe you. I knew nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, I knew nothing, and I kind of wish I still knew nothing, if I'm gonna be honest. It really didn't do anything for me. I felt like it was just really drawn out, and also it's a love triangle between two teenagers and a 30-year-old man.
Adult. How do you say his name? Billy Crudup? Is that how you say his last name?
Love Billy Crudup.
I mean, hot. Yes. I get it. But,
hot.
And I mean, it addressed, like, why that was a little bit problematic. It wasn't, like, completely blind to the fact that the main love story was about a 16-year-old girl and an adult man. Like, that was...
Yeah.
It was a little bit self-aware, but just, like, not enough for my taste. And my impression of this movie is, like, you know what Forrest Gump is to, like, the history of the 60s? Of, like, we're gonna do all the buzz things, like, and now he's in Vietnam, and now he's doing protesting, and now, like, this is the Forrest Gump of, like, music movies.
Yeah.
To me. And the way...
I'll agree with you there.
The way that I don't really like Forrest Gump, that, like, I get why it's important and why people do really like it, but I'm just kind of like, okay, you're just, like, doing the big cultural touch point things. I feel like for like rock and roll or whatever, like people, I'm doing air quotes. I just feel like they're like, oh, we're just going to say the names of a bunch of famous rock people and like make references. And like, that's really all it accomplished to me. I think it had good bones, and I think that it could have been really good. I liked the main character sort of like as this opposition trying to maintain like journalistic integrity in this like crazy world and being really caught up with like finding your identity while also like, you know, trying not to be friends with them too much, but like getting drawn in. I thought that was like compelling, but the whole
I liked the start of it a lot.
That kid is such a bad actor though. He was so bad, like to the point where I felt bad for him. Like halfway through, I'm like, are
you weren't ready for this role?
No, or any role. They should have just kept the little kid from Sky High, who they got to be the younger version of him.
Oh my god, yeah.
It should have just been like this 11-year-old journalist is really struggling. And I would have liked that better.
Agreed. Well, there's so many different people popped up in this movie.
Jump scare central.
I really liked Zooey Deschanel in this role. I know you hate her.
I don't hate her.
You strongly dislike her.
I think she's fine. Did you know she's married to one of the Property Brothers?
Yeah, crazy, right?
That shit scares me every time I see it, because I always just think that they're married to each other. Like, the two Property Brothers. But she's like a Nepo baby, and she just, like, is the same all the time. And I think I can forgive, like, New Girl, because that at least was, like, her pocket or whatever. But
and that was just her.
Like,
that's who she was.
Like,
she is.
But she actually, I agree. She was kind of interesting. She was an interesting little flavor in this movie.
Yeah. Well, same with Frances McDormand. Love her. Love of my life.
Wild. This movie was jump scare after jump scare in like a good way, and then in like what the really fuck is going on like way. Like it turned.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I guess I can't say that it started good because this movie opens with the Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas song.
I kind of loved that, actually.
I didn't. I feel like I'm like, is this ironic or not? And also the fact that the actor who is the lead singer in this movie is the guy from the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie. He plays Dave, the human man.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That brings a whole other layer to it.
This movie, like, was a premonition that man would be cast as Dave.
That's so strange. Oh my
Jason
goodness.
Lee. Yeah, Jason Lee. And also, speaking of, look at this man. Isn't he so much hotter with the long hair and the mustache?
Hold on, now I have to look at IMDb.
But I thought he was kind of hot in this. I thought all the guys with the I wish.
Of course they were hot.
I feel like in the way that like the girlies are like bringing back a lot of like older trends, like, you know, high-waisted flared jeans or whatever. Like I feel like the 70s and the 90s are both like really hot right now. Can men do that? Men are doing it a little bit with mustaches. I feel like because of Top Gun last summer, like boys got into mustaches, which I'm like here for. And I feel like the mullet, but I'm like, the mullet is like the 80s. Can we take it back one more to the 70s? And can all boys be required to have like sweepy bangs and like long hair and a mustache? I would like that.
Yeah.
That's my proposal.
I agree with you there. Let's get this this ball rolling.
And if you haven't heard, it's a rat tail summer.
It is a rat tail summer. Dara's got double rat tails.
I've got two. I've just decided that like anything, whatever I'm presently doing or holding, I just declare that it's that kind of summer. So like I got rat tails, and now I've been proclaiming that it's a rat tail summer. I was like I was drinking a blue slushy, and now I've just been saying like it's a blue slushy summer. Just whatever you're doing, you can like proclaim
you make the
it.
Rules.
It's a honey mustard summer. Like
love it. That's so funny. I'm having a pickle party tonight.
Ooh, that's so fun. I would hate that. Do you just have are you gonna do like a sampling, like a blind tasting? A guess which one is bread and butter? Guess which one is dill? Pickle games? Pickleball?
Pickleball. I haven't played that, but maybe we should. I don't know. I'm figuring it out. But oh my god. First of all, I don't work at Trader Joe's anymore, thank God.
Hell yeah.
But they do have a really great pickle seasoning. And if you slice tomatoes kind of thin and you just put some pickle seasoning on it, gas. It's gas.
Pickle tomatoes. Interesting.
But anyways.
Shouts out to quitting your retail job.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I went in it for like 2 hours and then I just decided to leave on my last day. I was like, I can't be here for more time than I have to be. Thank you. Should we give a little
recap?
Plot?
A little
summary?
little recap. What's his name? William?
Some.
William... What was his last name? I don't know the actor's name either because I'm a bad person. I'm going to refer to...
The kid.
Kate Hudson and Billy Crudup as their actor names, and I'm just going to call him that boy.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. It is William Miller.
William Miller, son to Frances McDormand. His older sister is, like, so cool, and she wants to listen to Simon and Garfunkel, and Frances McDormand says, no, that is the devil's lettuce music. So you need to not. But she doesn't seem like Bible thumpy either. She just seems like she seems like a liberal arts professor.
Yeah,
who
right?
But like who's
It's
afraid
strange.
that like counterculture is gonna like take her kids away from her or something. That didn't really like pan out to me. And I know that this is it's like a loosely autobiographical about the director because he was like a young, on the road journalist for a bunch of like rock groups for Rolling Stones. So this basically is just like his like retelling of his life story. And like Penny Lane's like literally an actual person who was like, hey, I wish you had asked me before you made this movie about me. So like that
sounds right.
That's a whole thing. But basically, Zooey Deschanel's like, I'm going to run off and become an airline stewardess because I'm 18 and you can't tell me what to do, but I'm going to leave my little brother behind all of my records and be like, listen to these in secret and like, get the culture you need to. Also, he like skipped a bunch of grades and they lied to him about how old he was, which is also kind of weird. But so then we flash forward and he's a little bit older and he's really into rock music and he's also like a really great writer. So he's writing all of these pieces that he's submitting to like local independent magazines, and Philip Seymour Hoffman comes in. He's the editor of a magazine called Cream, and they kind of take a mentor-mentee relationship a little bit. And then he gets signed on to do this piece for Rolling Stone magazine where he basically is going to follow this band called Stillwater around on their tour and write a piece about them. And he basically just keeps extending the trip. He was supposed to just go with them on like 3 stops, but he's the guitar player. He's not the lead singer, but he's like the main guy in the band. Like he is the guy. That's Billy Crudup. And he basically is like, oh, we can do this interview, but he keeps like kind of pushing it off because he's such a rocker guy and he needs to be having sex with underage girls. Oh, I don't have time for your interview. But they basically adopt him while they like go on the road, and he's sort of, and Penny Lane is also there, and she's like a groupie, but she's like, oh, we don't call it groupies, we're band-aids, and we this group of girls, and we follow them everywhere. So there was like that, and it's basically that her relationship with both William as like an age-appropriate thing, and that they're both like kind of being thrown into this culture together, and then also her relationship with Billy Crudup as like this kind of gross like musician and then like muse / groupie like relationship. And then he like is writing the article, but then he's not. And then they're like, you need to turn in this article. And then I was like getting a lot of secondhand stress because I was like, buddy, you need to write that article. Like make something up. Like you don't
and
then there's a plane crash and everyone gets really honest while the plane is crashing.
There's almost a plane crash.
Yeah, it's like some turbulence, and then when they finally land, Billy Crudup is like, oh, like say whatever you want. Like, we almost just died. Write your article about whatever. And he basically writes this super honest article about, like, all the shit that was going on and just, like, sort of the, like, he's like a think piece about, like, a mid-level band really fighting their way.
Trying to make it,
in this, like, oversaturated rock and roll market or whatever. And he submits it, and then they call, and they're like, hey, is any of this shit true? And then the band is like, no, none of that shit is true, because they don't want to be perceived as, like, I don't really understand what their beef was. I don't really get what their beef was about, like, not wanting the article to be about them, like, partying, because isn't that just the assumption that, like, because his whole thing at one point, Billy Crudup was like, oh, I don't want, like, my girlfriend / wife to, like, know that I'm fucking around. But, like, that kind of got revealed anyways. So I'm like, what is there, like, were they just, like, pissed that he didn't write the article that they wanted him to write? Like, I didn't really get what their...
I think it was too revealing and just probably not in the best, like, interest of putting, like, shit out there.
I guess, but in my opinion, it's like, you either get to be on the cover of Rolling Stone or you don't. So no matter what the art, like, any press is good press, basically, right? A magazine cover, like, that's worth being like, oh, yeah, like, you should even make up worse stuff. Like, you know what I mean? But so then they basically are like, you're 16, you're a fucking liar. We hate you. And then he goes home and he cries, and then Billy Crudup calls Penny Lane and is like, I'm so sorry, give me your home address. And she then gives him Williams instead. He shows up and is like, Francis McDormand, who are you? And then he goes in, he apologizes to William, and then he calls and is like, all that shit is true. And so then the assumption is that his little article gets published. And that's basically it. There's a lot of padding stuff just about, like, life on the road and drugs and rock and roll and sex and trashing hotels is so cool. Which, again, I thought it had good bones and there were moments that I really liked, but I thought that the leading protagonist, being such a bad fucking actor, just, like, ruined so much of this for me. And then also...
Well, I don't think there was particularly any good acting in this. Not any, but, like, all of the lead actors, like, Billy Crudup didn't do anything for me.
He just was hot.
Hudson, he was just hot. Kate Hudson doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. Like, it was all just kind of, like, they were really trying, but it was just plateaued from the beginning.
Kate Hudson and Blake Lively are indiscernible from each other to me. Like, if you told me that was Blake Lively, I would not know.
I can see that.
To say the difference. That looks just like her. Her in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, that looks just fucking like her. They just put her hair in curlers. Am I wrong? Is that me saying that all, like, blonde white ladies look the same?
Well, they do. So, no, I can see where you're coming from. I just know them apart.
I don't. If you told me that this movie was called Dazed and Confused and that was Blake Lively, sold.
Yeah, yes. Yes, that is true. Yeah, that's true. And, like, I understand that the underage, like, love triangle kind of thing with a 30-year-old man, that's exactly what, like, rock stars were doing and everything like that. Like, Mick Jagger, Bowie, Jim Morrison.
Plant.
Robert Plant. Oh my god, Robert Plant.
That's like when you learn about, like, that, like, the lead guys of rock bands from the like 60s and 70s, like, weren't good people, and you're like, everyone's, like, shocked. I'm like, why the fuck are you shocked?
He would literally wear the blouses of the girls that he slept with the night before. Yes, it was iconic, but it was also gross. But yeah, so, like, obviously I understand that's exactly what this movie's doing, and it is, I think, self-aware. Like, it's nothing crazy and just, like, throwing out a nasty relationship like that. But it is just still, like, gross to see.
I think it was a little bit self-aware to the point where I wouldn't say that they were, like, glamorizing it, but they certainly were romanticizing it a little bit. Like, yeah. Like, I think we were supposed to kind of buy into it a little bit, that, like, she was his muse and that he really did love her. And, like, at the very end, it's, like, the switching of the grouper, like, roles, that he's now the one chasing after her and she's the one who's, like, running away and, like, or is too good for him or whatever. Which I feel like, as, like, a manic pixie dream girl character, she certainly exhibits a lot of that. Like, she's a Mary Sue, she's perfect, she has no flaws. But I think that this movie, at least successfully a little bit, gave her just enough depth and just enough, like, agency over the men in her life that I wouldn't say that she was completely just, like, there to aid in the two male character stories, basically. I think she had her own thing going on, and her, like, relationship with him was as much, you got to see as much of her side of it as you did both of theirs, which I think characters like her are used in that way a lot. Like, you know, Ramona Flowers is just there to progress Scott Pilgrim's story kind of thing. You know, I think Penny Lane at least had her own narrative to some extent. And I did like that at the end she kind of was the one that came out on top, or at least, you know, she got to finally run away and, like, rid herself of this, like, fake life or whatever that she felt she was leaving behind. But I'm like, I don't know, give her a gun. Let her
Yeah.
Let her kill both these men, because they were both so shitty to the point where I was like, oh, why are we even supposed to be rooting for either of them at this point? When she's passed out and before he calls the police for help, he like kisses her unconscious body. I was like, that's a wrap. I am over trying to, and I'm like, is he supposed to be like a unreliable narrator / like, you know, morally questionable character? But I felt like we were still supposed to like him, and we were still supposed to be like rooting for him to get his article published. I was like, ew, you are now just like all the gross men.
Yeah.
Is that the point? Exactly. Is that the point of this movie?
Probably. But also, like, what does he learn? Nothing. Nothing is learned.
I wanted the movie to end with his article not fucking getting published. Them being like, yeah, you got to come on the road with us, and that was really fun and cool for you, but you don't get to write this, like, damaging article, and you learned your lesson. Don't become friends with the rock stars. Write objective things that are just true. Boo-hoo. Lesson learned. Go to your high school graduation next time, buddy.
Yeah. Think again. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And it was just, the other thing about this movie, it was just so long.
There's also like a director's cut that is like even longer.
What else could they be adding?
This movie won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, which is shocking to me because I felt like
an Oscar.
I felt that it was so both Kate Hudson and Frances McDormand were nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Maybe actually, maybe
he was
not.
on screen for 6 minutes.
And editing. It was nominated for all of those, and it won for Best Original Screenplay, which I felt like the dialogue in this movie was crunchy as fuck. I do not. But I guess it was, like, because it was this really popular director's, like, semi-autobiographical life story that it was, like, really groundbreaking or whatever. Upon hopping on this call, Emily sent to Jen and I this photo of Florence Pugh, just really letting it all bare. I mean, we are fans here. I'm a fan of this dress.
Yes.
Maybe I'll retweet this on our Twitter. And y'all can see what we're talking about. But
I love what she's doing.
The buzzed hair, just the...
I need to know who her stylist is.
The chiffon. She's just, you know, she's living her best life. She can do no wrong.
Stunning. I think this movie would have been a lot better if Florence Pugh was in it.
Florence Pugh was, like, 6 years old.
An infant. Yeah. Yeah, but still.
She had a little cameo. I think she really would have blown them all away.
Yeah.
But we're here with my mom, Jen. She's going to host a game, chocolate or vanilla. She says two things. We all say which one we like better. And this week, the theme was written in by movie suggester Brooke Drew, who we shouted out at the beginning of the episode, but double shouts out to Brooke Drew, who came up with the theme. So I'm going to say it because I already know what it is. It's that it's going to be an actor in this movie, because there's, like, jump scares on jump scares on jump scares. And then it's going to be them in this versus them in something else, which we've got a plethora to pick from. Also, I'm going to preface, not to just monologue, but I'm going to preface, we are recording this after the fact, and we were, like, really singing Billy Crudup's praises, just in the general sense. And then I said something to Jen, and she's like, you know he left his pregnant girlfriend for a different actress, right? And I was like, oh, shit, no, I did not know that.
No idea.
So, yeah, he left...
Mary Louise Parker.
Mary Louise Parker for Claire Danes, and she was pregnant. So maybe he's...
You said pick the thing they're most famous for, and I'm like, Billy Crudup? He left Mary Louise Parker when she was pregnant. That's what I know him for.
Yikes.
All right, so do we want to get into it?
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry?
Chocolate.
I'll stick with vanilla today.
And I will go with chocolate. So Billy Crudup in this, or Billy Crudup in 20th Century Women?
I thought you were going to say Billy Crudup in this, or Billy Crudup on the front cover of People magazine because he was caught cheating on his pregnant girlfriend. No, totally him in 20th Century Women. No shot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, same. I took the theme as pick them in something that they were most known for. Before famous and after famous, for almost famous. Kate Hudson in this, or Kate Hudson in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days?
I have not seen that film, and I truly think that the only thing that she's ever been in that even, like, tickled me a little bit, like, her performance-wise, was Glass Onion, Her playing like the shitty influencer lady, I just felt was so like, it was a riveting performance.
I should have picked that one. She was so good in that.
But I'll pick her in this because she was fine.
Yeah, she did what she needed to. I'll also choose her in this.
Yeah, I'll choose her in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. She looked so good in this really, really pretty yellow dress at the end. And I should have picked her in Glee. Cassandra July, right?
Oh, my God. Yeah, that was iconic.
Next one is Patrick Fugit in this, or in We Bought a Zoo.
Fuck, We Bought a Zoo. Fuck, We Bought a Zoo. I've never even seen that movie, but I've heard it's a pretty fun drinking game to do a shot every time they say the phrase "We bought a zoo," because it happens a lot more than you'd expect. But it's the same director.
He's so bad in this, though.
Yeah, it's the same director, so clearly he was just like... Again, he saw something he wasn't supposed to see, and they let him be in some movies, is clearly the case. I'll say him and We Bought a Zoo, because at least he wasn't at the front.
Yeah, I think I would have a better time watching and making fun of We Bought a Zoo, so I'll pick We Bought a Zoo.
Okay, we bought a zoo for this week, then. Next one is Anna Paquin in this, or as Sookie in True Blood.
I've never seen True Blood.
Yeah.
But Anna Paquin, she's like one of the groupie girls. She's the one with like the black hair, right? I forget her name in this, but she's like the other groupie that has like spoken lines, basically. But yeah, I'll pick her in this. She was fun.
Yeah, I'll choose her in this. I liked that character.
Yeah, I'll choose her in this too. She got like Oscar nom when she was like 10 years old for The Piano, right? Remember that?
Oh yeah, she's one of the youngest ever.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Next one is Zooey Deschanel in this, or in New Girl.
Although she did, like, I liked her in this movie. I felt like it was like a good little, just enough screen time for me to get what was going on, just a little bit different enough from what she usually does for me to be like, oh, her bangs were like swept to the side a little bit rather than harsh across the forehead.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say her a New Girl because I do think I'm gonna give that as her free pass, that she gets to be like, I'm playing the ukulele and I'm singing a ditty, and I get it. It's your show, so fair.
Yeah. That's who she is.
I'd say I would say her and Elf is the biggest Zooey Deschanel jump scare because she's like blonde. I don't know.
I kind of love that one for her.
That throws me for a loop, but I'll pick her in New Girl.
Yeah, I will also pick her in New Girl because that just seems like that's one of those ones she just showed up on set, no lines rehearsed. This is all just her free ball
and just owned it. Yeah, I love New Girl.
Yeah.
Next one is Jason Lee in this, or as the voice of Syndrome in The Incredibles, or as Dave in Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh my god, I did not think you were going to make this the triple, because immediately you said his name, and I'm like, she's going to say Dave. And then I did not know he was Syndrome. That's iconic. I'll pick that.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Syndrome.
Yeah, same. Syndrome. Next one, Philip Seymour Hoffman in this, or as Plutarch Heavensbee in Hunger Games.
Hunger Games!
Hunger Games.
Yeah, for sure, the Hunger Games. Again, in my head, I thought you were going to say his role in Doubt for some reason, which I also probably would have picked over this. He didn't have a ton of screen time in this, but he goes so hard in the Hunger Games movies. His character is so fucking good.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm also going to go for him in the Hunger Games. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Hunger Games for sure. We were talking to Dara's brother-in-law, who's a junior high English teacher, and he said kids just don't read books anymore, right? Except he tried to get them excited about the Hunger Games. So my friend at work, her boyfriend's daughter's like 13, 14, and she said they saw the Hunger Games this weekend for the first time, and the dad's like, oh, you should read it now. And she says, why would I have to read it? I just watched it. So no books. No books for the junior high kids.
Wow.
That's tragic. I'm actually reading the new one right now.
Oh my god, really? I love that.
Yeah.
What's the new one?
Good.
Is it like a...
It's a prequel.
It's a prequel.
Oh, okay.
The movie's coming out this summer?
Yeah.
August. Maybe?
I think so.
Is anybody super famous in it?
Hunter Schafer?
Hunter Schafer, yes. That girl who, she was just in the Steven Spielberg, what's it called? Oh my god.
The Fablemans? Oh, no.
No.
Oh, what's her name? Rachel Ziegler?
Yeah, Rachel Ziegler. So she's new to the scene.
Yeah. She was in West Side Story. Yeah.
Yes, that one. But yeah, the story's
Peter
pretty good.
Dinklage, Viola Davis.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
Jason
yes.
Schwartzman. It's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It centers around President Snow when he was, like, a teenager and, like, at the start of the Hunger Games, basically.
Okay, so kind of like
it's very
like
interesting.
the origin story of Voldemort, like that kind of vibe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of,
Oh,
yeah,
I
that
think I'm gonna
vibe.
read that. That sounds good.
It's good. It's thick. It's a 500-page
Oh
book.
wow.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be like
Okay, Suzanne, pop off.
I know. I felt goofy taking it out of the teen section at the library. I was, like, on my cruise reading.
There's nothing wrong with the YA section at Barnes & Noble. Hold your head high.
Thank you, Jen.
Next one is Frances McDormand in this or in Fargo.
Fargo. I love her in Fargo. I learned pretty recently that, so, like, you know how there's a TV show about Fargo, like, or like a spin-off TV series that's, like, fairly, like, critically acclaimed? Way before that was a thing, they were gonna do a TV spin-off series in, like, the, I don't know, like, early to mid 2000s, like, fairly shortly after the movie came out and, like, was fairly successful. Edie Falco was gonna be the Frances McDormand character, and it was directed by Kathy Bates, and it only got one pilot episode, which is now, like, ripped from the face of the planet, and, like, somebody found it on, like, some, like, dark web Canadian streaming service or something, was like, did anybody else know that this existed? Because it basically, like, didn't get bought, which is crazy, because I feel like that Fargo show is pretty popular, or at least it was.
That sounds so good. Oh my god.
But I love her in Fargo.
I wish I saw that.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I'm also gonna have to go with her and Fargo.
Yeah, Fargo for sure. Next one is Rainn Wilson in this or as Dwight in The Office.
He was in this. This was a jump scare because it was, like, hardly, like, you could have missed it.
I think I did.
But I'll pick him in The Office. You know, that's his bread and butter. Let him have it.
Yeah, I think that is, his iconic character. I'll give it to him.
Yeah, I've said it before. I actually really like The Office, especially when I'm in the mood to watch something just kind of mindless. I like The Office. Michael Angarano in this or as Will Stronghold in Sky High.
Oh my god! Yes! I was like, who is this? And then I'm like, you said Sky High. I'm like, oh, it's the little boy from Sky High. Like, he doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
He's the boy. What's it? Yeah, Will Stronghold.
For sure, Sky High. That had much more of an impact on me than this movie.
And he played, like, a precocious, like, we were supposed to be impressed because he is, like, he was 11 and he, like, read To Kill a Mockingbird or whatever. Like, don't give me a precocious, wise beyond their years child. I don't want it.
Ew.
Yeah.
You hate the precocious sibling.
Be at your normal grade reading level. He should be reading Animorphs.
I'm going to say Sky High also. He also was semi-famous for dating Kristen Stewart. They were like boyfriend-girlfriend.
They were boyfriend-girlfriend.
Before they got famous. Yeah, pre-fame. Next one is Noah Taylor as in this or as Mr. Bucket in Charlie and Chocolate Factory.
Oh, yes.
Easy.
I clocked him first as he's in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
He played Locke on Game of Thrones, and I was like, that's who that is. And I always forget that that's the same actor just because it's, like, wildly different. Shouts out to our homies over on the podcast Wonka Watch. We did a collab with them a couple of weeks ago, but I'll shout them out again. I'll pick fucking, what's his name? Mr. Buckets. What's his first name?
Yeah, Mr. Bucket.
I don't know, it's the dad.
Oh, Dad Buckets. I'll
Daddy-
pick him.
Daddy
Father
Buckets.
Bucket.
Daddy Buckets.
Yeah, Daddy Buckets. I will also go for Daddy Buckets. I recently saw him in that movie Submarine. Have you ever seen that, Dara? It seemed like something you would watch when you were like 13 or 14 years old.
No, I'll have to look into it. I've never even heard of this.
The entire movie soundtrack is done by Alex Turner.
Oh! I
You know that one-
always
you know what
get
I'm
that
talking
movie
about?
confused with the Beach Boys biopic starring Paul Dano because I always felt like that album cover just looked like Paul Dano. So when I heard people talk about that Beach Boys movie, I always just assumed like that's the one with all the Alex Turner music, but that's not
No.
the same thing.
Yeah, no, it seems it very much reminds me of something you would
I
watch
definitely
as
listened
a-
to the music from it for sure.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even think I knew it was a movie.
You should watch it. It's interesting. It's funny a little bit. Daddy Buckets though.
Yeah, Daddy Buckets for me too. Last one. Jimmy Fallon in this, or as the inspiration for the Ben and Jerry's Tonight Dough, which is caramel caramel and chocolate ice cream with chocolate cookie swirls and gobs of chocolate chip cookie dough and peanut butter cookie dough.
You gave him a fighting chance on
Yeah,
this.
the only thing you could say about Jimmy Fallon that would have just any sort of spark of joy within me, I actually, weirdly enough, prefer his first Ben & Jerry's flavor, which got canceled when his show moved time slots. So it was like they gave him a new ice cream flavor when his show like got rebooted or whatever. But his first Ben & Jerry's flavor was potato chips dipped in chocolate in the ice cream with then like a salty caramel swirl, but it was like salty, crunchy potato chip ice cream. Oh. And I think it also probably just wasn't selling very well because like who wants potato chip ice cream other than me? But I do like the Tonight Dough. I am more of a half-baked girl if I'm going to get gluttonous with my mix-ins. But, and Henry's an Americone Dream kind of guy, which is...
Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert. So if I'm going for like a branded individual's ice cream flavor, it's not my first choice, but I certainly would rather eat a pint of ice cream than watch Jimmy Fallon on my TV for any reason.
Totally agreed with you there. It's a lot. It's a lot in that ice cream. And personally, I like to keep it kind of simple, but... It's
the inclusion of peanut butter, for me, that kind of throws it off, because I feel like I either want the peanut butter to be like peanut butter cups or something, but it's peanut butter cookie dough and regular cookie dough, which is just like...
But I'm totally gonna go for Tonight Dough.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna go Tonight Dough. I don't think I've ever had this one, but it sounds really good. The more the better for me and my Ben & Jerry's.
Kind of valid.
You definitely have like snagged a little scoopy when we're like watching Survivor and like I've got one and you've got one. You do a little like a swapsy. It's fairly indistinguishable from any other like has too much shit in it Ben & Jerry's kind of deal. But hey, I'm not complaining. Thank you, Jen. We love you, and thank you, Brooke, and anyone else who wants to write in a theme. It can go with the movie you suggest. Like I said earlier, that really buttered us up. Or if you just have a theme that's not movie related, if you're like, oh, I want to hear them talk about, I don't know, the freezer section at Trader Joe's. Guess what? We probably have already done that, I think. But
that would actually be really good.
But see,
that's a great idea.
I'm reusing old ideas. Send us new ones, please. We love it. And on that note, goodbye, Jen. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye. Thank you, Brooke. I love you guys. Have an awesome night. Bye.
It just didn't do it for me. And it's so crazy, too, because looking at everyone's Letterboxd reviews, everyone has this rated so, like...
Everyone loves it. It has a 4.
High.
It has, like, an average of 4 out of 5, right?
Which is insane.
Which, again, I can kind of see in the Forrest Gump argument of it all, how it could be, like, a comfort movie, how it could be... if you saw this at like a somewhat young or formative age, like I loved the movie Forrest Gump for a long time before I realized it was fucking boring, or just like not an interesting way to tell a story. I don't know. So I can see how if you saw this at like a more formative age, also like Penny Lane as like an it girl character, to like her fashion is fucking iconic. Like her one-liners are pretty cool. I could see how you could kind of like latch onto that and be really into this movie in that sort of way. Also, again, I'm going to say like as a comfort film, I just didn't find it comforting.
No.
Personally.
I agree with you 110% about that. It just made me want to go and watch my comfort film, 20th Century Women, and see Billy Crudup with a little mustache.
Again.
It'd be even hotter.
This is just a prequel to that movie. This is actually about his life leading up to 20th Century Women. And this is Zooey Deschanel's life story leading up to 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that narrative.
And Frances McDormand's life story leading up to Nomadland. She's going to run away and live in a bus. She said, fuck them kids.
I love it. Yeah. Can we talk about the jump scare in the room?
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, jump scare Jimmy Fallon.
Okay, if the opening music of Alvin and the Chipmunks was like a knife in my gut, then Jimmy Fallon with a bowl cut showing up was like a gunshot to my temple. What does that man
that's
know?
A good way to put it.
What dirt does he have on someone that he just like gets to be around? Because he's just, I find him so insufferable.
He must have seen like 4 people die.
He was like the survivor of a hit and run.
Yeah.
They were like...
I think part of it is because like he used to be like like, boyishly hot, I guess.
I cannot stand the pictures of, it's like that one picture of Harrison Ford in fixing the cabinets or whatever, and everyone's like, young Harrison Ford. Like, of course we know he's like Hollywood hot. Like, you don't have to convince me with this picture of him as a carpenter. But there's that one photo of young Jimmy Fallon. Everyone's like, oh my god, young Jimmy Fallon. And you do have to be a base level of like Hollywood hot to get your foot in the door in that way anyways. So it's like, it's not really that surprising.
What, this?
Oh, yeah, I'm just so annoyed by it. I don't want to see that. He was attractive. Let's not.
He just looks like someone's dad now.
Let's not gas him up. He already, his head is too big. It doesn't need to be better.
Yeah.
As I know he's probably like a good person. I know he like does a lot of charity work and like is probably fine. I just find his talk show to be so irritating. Mm-hmm. Making your guests play like the frickin' game where you put your phone up to your head and you have to like say, like, do impressions or whatever. What is it called? What's it called when you do impressions?
Impressions?
Or like,
I don't know.
Charades.
Charades, oh.
Every American talk show host just needs to go to the Graham Norton School of conversationalism.
Just give everyone a little drink and get them all on one couch.
Let them talk, too. Like, Jimmy Fallon is always talking over all his guests, and I'm like, you're not even asking them good questions. Shut the fuck up. You're making them play charades. They're like, let's play a different form of charades that I've come up. Hey, Questlove, come on in here. Like, oh my god.
Graham Norton hardly even is, like, talking during, like, these interviews. He'll, like, set everyone up for a story, and then they just go. And that's what's brilliant about his interviewing.
He just cultivates good vibes. And that's all you need, because celebrities are interesting enough. They don't need to be prompted.
Come on.
But anyways, Jimmy Fallon, what the fuck was he doing in this movie? I will say, though, I was thanking the fucking heavens that his character didn't turn out to be an evil manager. Like, that.
Yeah.
It just ended up.
Just a guy.
He just kind of showed up and was like, oh, you guys are getting big now, so you need a manager to help you, like, expand. And that basically, like, set off the storyline of them being on planes now and touring in bigger cities and stuff like that. But otherwise, his character was kind of redundant. But I really thought it was going to be like he's going to pitch the band members against each other and really, like, tear the band apart because he's an evil music manager, because every music manager in movies is fucking evil. Like, oh my god, I was waiting for that to happen, and I was really glad that it didn't.
No, I'm glad they kept it as the band is evil.
Yeah.
The way that this movie started, and I was sitting there, I was like, is this a real band? I, like, couldn't remember.
Yeah, so it is not,
no.
If you didn't know, it's a fictional band that is basically inspired by the comprised experiences of Cameron Crowe, is that his name?
Yeah.
Cameron Crowe, the director, he wrote for Rolling Stone, and he, when he was a teenager, went on tour with the Allman Brothers. So that was, like, primarily who it was based on, about him, like, being on the road with them. But then he took, like, selective...
I just can't see the Allman Brothers, like, having, like, drama like that.
But I guess he also took, like, somewhat selective experiences from other things and, you know, injected that here and there. Like, the plane crash was about Leonard Skinner. Character of Russell, Billy Crudup's character, is based off of, like, one of the guys from the Eagles. Like, so it's very, like, you know, an amalgamation of his experience as, like, a young, you know, music journalist or whatever. But it is mostly the Allman Brothers, I think.
Interesting.
Was what I was also trying to piece that together, because I'm like, if this is some, like, autobiographical thing, like, I want to know. I want to know, like, who's supposed to be who.
Who is it? Yeah.
He also, his wife is fucking Nancy Wilson from Heart, the band Heart. He was, they're divorced now, but they were married at the time, and she, like, helped with all the music in this movie, and,
Interesting. Yeah, the soundtrack slaps, obviously.
I read that this movie was a box office, like, failure. Like, they hardly even broke even, because they spent so much fucking money on, like, licensing. But the only thing I got from this movie really was realizing that scene of them singing, like the band is fighting, but then they start singing Tiny Dancer all together, and now they're like, oh, but music is gonna bind us together. In Pitch Perfect, when all the girlies are fighting and then they start singing Party in the USA
on the
bus, I was like, oh, they're doing a bit that I just like, I just got that.
I've just picked up on this one.
So little cultural reference that I understand now. Thanks, Almost Famous.
Nice.
I feel like every girl also like it goes on Depop and tries to find the Penny Lane coat and just like can't really pull it off, and it always just ends up looking like like a sad sheepdog. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean.
It's a great coat, but I feel like all the like resold Depop-y ones are like, you're not doing it.
You just can't do it. You can't do it. It was made for this movie. Of course it's gonna look brilliant. Like, this is not tailor fit to you. And you're not Kate Hudson.
Speaking of like people who have famous spouses, not that her spouses are really famous, but I was looking at who Kate Hudson has been married to, and her first husband they were married from 2000, so like when this movie came out, to 2007.
How old was she?
She was 21. So she was 21 they were filming at 21 when it came out. The lead actor was 18, and Billy Crudup was 31, I think. I did all that math to try to like reference in my head what the scale of appropriateness was.
Yeah, makes sense.
But her first husband was Chris Robinson, he's a musician in some rock group, I don't know. But he looks exactly like every man in this film. Like, he looks like every man of this fictional Stillwater band. Like, if you look him up, it's like, oh, so, this is a little bit true then, Kate Hudson. And then they got divorced, and now her partner is also a musician who also is, like, in 3 rock groups and also just looks like every man in this movie. So she clearly has a type. And this movie is clearly, like, good casting. She was originally cast as the sister, as the Zooey Deschanel character.
Interesting.
And Brad Pitt was going to be Billy Crudup, and then he showed up, and he was like, I don't really think I get this. And they were like, yeah, this doesn't seem like a good fit. So he dropped out, and so then they dropped with it whoever was cast to be Penny Lane. They just dropped them both, and they shifted Kate Hudson over to the Penny Lane role, because they were just doing some shit. But I thought that Zooey Deschanel and him kind of did look alike. I felt like that was like a semi-realistic sibling casting. Like, they both had the dimples. I don't know. I was buying it. I also now have a new forbidden pair that in that one scene where Philip Seymour Hoffman was talking on the phone, it was like really close up to his face. I was like, is that Jack Black? Like, I knew it wasn't, but now I'm like, forbidden pair in my mind. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Jack Black look a lot alike. I'd never thought of that before.
Yeah, it gave me the same kind of vibe, honestly. Just the way he was, like, throwing around the music in the studio and everything like that, and being like, oh, this song, and, like, I don't know, he was doing some weird little dance moves.
Rest in peace. But, rest in peace, King, to a legend.
Icon, legend, love him so much.
Okay, do we want to do our regularly scheduled programming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do we want to include Kate Hudson and William because they were over 18 in real life, or they're supposed to be 16 in this movie, so let's just like
let's keep it that way.
So do we want to do Frances McDormand, Billy Crudup, and who's like a wild Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's do the top 3 billing actors of this film.
Yeah. I think I have to fuck Billy Crudup because he is exceptionally hot. And then I'm going to...
Frances McDormand is great, but in this movie, her character, she just seemed like a lot.
Insane.
Like, I could not deal...
Yeah, I guess I have to kill her and then marry Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, I think...
That feels like my only option.
I am going to have to agree with you, because I don't want to marry her, and she's just too intense for me. She has like, English teacher who thinks that they can tell you, like, your life story, even though you're, like, 14, and you're like, what do you mean that I need to be more emotionally vulnerable? Like, we're just reading Of Mice and Men. Can you chill out?
Come on,
She gave me that vibe, which I wasn't into. And I'm definitely not marrying Billy Crudup because his character fucking sucks. But that mustache was doing it for me, and his little wavy haircut. Hot. Yeah. I mean, it's like, girls who poop versus bitches who shit. It's like, it's like girls who like Billy Crudup in Almost Famous versus girls who like Billy Crudup in 20th century women. Like girls who poop versus bitches who shit. Yeah, I'm gonna marry Philip Seymour Hoffman because his all 6 minutes of screen time that his character had, he seemed all right. He was like a beverage girly. They like went out to a diner and he had like a bottle of Coke, a cup of coffee, and a glass of water, like and something else. So it's like relatable.
Yeah, been there, buddy.
And then what are you gonna eat and drink?
I'm gonna eat what I think the band would serve me, which is I think
a Slim Jim, a single Slim Jim.
No, a lukewarm beer. And a handful of pretzels. Nothing to dip them with.
That's just so sad. You know, when they trade Penny for the beer, and then you get that like nice emotional scene where she has her moment, and then she like pulls it together, and then she like makes a joke. She's like, "Oh, like, but what kind of beer was it?" If you learned that you were like socially bargained for a case of beer, what kind of beer do you think would at least make you feel less shitty? You'd be like, "Okay, that's kind of fair."
Land Shark.
I don't know what that is. Is that good?
It's like, it's kind of Corona-y. I don't know. But, like, Corona's too, like, typical, I feel. If it was for a fucking, like, PBR or Bud Light, I'd be
I was going to say PBR. I think that's what I'm
Yingling.
worth. I'm on a case of Peebs. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think Land Shark I'd be okay with.
Or, like...
Or maybe like a Stella Artois.
Okay, that's kind of fancy.
I'd be like, okay.
Or I would want Miller High Life, the champagne of beers.
Yes,
that would make me feel.
That would be ideal.
Yeah, that'd make me feel like less shit.
Yeah, it's ideal.
I felt like they were in hotels a lot, and so that got me into like room service kind of vibes. And when you're like on the road with the band and you're like ordering a lot of room service, I felt like room service to me, I just equate it to breakfast in bed. So I feel like you could like order from a diner, I guess, or you could just like make it yourself, but like really good French toast, like with some like berries and some little whipped cream. I don't know, like a fancy French toast that you would want to be served like at a nice hotel in your bed, and then just mimosas. Breakfast in bed, baby. Even though I'm sure they were not ordering that. I'm sure their room service was like
a cigarette.
Yes. And then what are you going to watch after this?
Rocket Man. Yeah, I'm going to watch Rocket Man. Just because well, and I love that movie, and I don't think I got nearly enough credit for what it was. And I think Taron Egerton is a darling.
Elton John is one of those celebrities that I think when he dies, I'm going to like, it's not going to feel real. You know, it's like when the Queen died, and it was like she was such a staple in a lot of people's like cultural zeitgeist that is like, oh my god, I can't believe she's dead even though she's so old. Like, that's how I feel about Elton John. Like, once he dies, it's gonna be like, oh my god, like, I know he was old, but like, wow, like, that's wild. I still think he's got some left. He's been on his farewell tour for like
4 years.
Yeah, for a long time now.
Wild.
Did you know that he is the artist who has made the most money comparatively ever touring?
No.
Yeah, I heard somebody talking about like the Taylor Swift versus Beyonce like revenue of their tours right now, and they brought up that that Elton John he is the most lucrative touring artist of all time.
That's crazy.
Which that makes sense to me. I feel like he's been touring his whole fucking life. Like, did he ever even stop? He's been on his farewell tour for 10 years now. Like, of course.
Since he was 20. Yeah.
And like fully will sell out every stadium because like of fucking course he does. He's Elton John.
Absolutely. I saw him on his farewell tour.
Oh really? You did? Was it good?
Yeah. Yeah, it was 3 years ago. It was great.
Farewell, Elton. See you next year.
Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. Like, come on. What about you?
Gotta watch a movie about how music actually brings people together in a meaningful and wholesome way. And there's no creepy relationships between underage people and adults. And I think you should watch School of Rock. I think you just shift from Philip Seymour Hoffman to Jack Black. And that's the real spirit of fucking rock and roll, baby, is Jack Black in School of Rock teaching those kids how to be fucking confident. That movie.
I think that's an exceptional.
Because that's the whole time I was like, I just wish I was watching the School of Rock. Because like that movie does like the referencey things where it's like, we're going to say the name of a song and your dad on the couch is going to be like, yeah, I know that one. Like, that movie does that in a way that doesn't bug me, and this movie, it did it in a way that did bug me.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to give it out of 10? I'll give it like a 4. because I get it. It wasn't bad. It was not like I wasn't miserable the whole time I was watching it, and it did have some nice moments that I thought were cute.
But it was just
I just also wish it was.
I wouldn't watch it again.
I wish it was like stylistically a little bit more elegant as well, because it had that really nice intro scene of like the handwriting of the names and sort of the like grainy, shots of like old records and stuff. I thought we were going to get a little bit more of that, and I thought the costuming was pretty good. I just wish there was a little bit more, I don't know, artistry in the visual direction a little bit, and also just recast that fucking kid. I'm so sorry. He was just insufferably bad.
Really did not rock with that.
But so sorry to Brooke and the lovely Spotify listener who suggested this. If you really love this movie and we're hoping for glowing reviews, I'm sorry. But we did cover your movie, and we are going to cover other movies that listeners suggest later this month. Some highs and some lows, I'm going to say. I'm not done complaining. And I feel like y'all maybe kind of want to hear me complain, because you're really pushing my buttons with some of these suggestions. So stay tuned for all of that this month. As always, all of our shit is in the description below. We are also starting a little backlog of content that we'll hopefully put up on a Patreon sometime soon, video versions of episodes, maybe some bonus content. But so we're just kind of trying to get that rolling before I ask you for any money, but just think about it, and if anything comes to mind that you're like, oh my god, you guys should really do a bonus episode about XYZ. I would like to hear you guys talk about what TV you like. I don't know, anything that sort of rings a bell. Let us know. Drop a suggestion, and continue, as always, to send us your movie suggestions. We love you all, and goodbye and good night.